All right, Matt's going to surprise me today talking through literacy rates.
This episode of the Christian Principles Podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation. And as always, thoughts and opinions expressed within this podcast are those of your hosts and not necessarily the Herzog Foundation. Welcome to the Christian Principles Podcast. I'm Matt George.
I'm Mark Zockel. Today, we're talking about literacy rates. Literacy rates, how we stack up to those around us, how Matt's school stacks up to those around him, and just what those around us have to say about their own literacy. So I have not seen the information that Matt has available today. I have not corroborated it. I have not, he has not presented me with the citations.
Yep.
So we're just going to trust. We're going to trust because we know what we would say. We would say, generally speaking.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. What would be your initial reaction whenever somebody says, what are the literacy rates like in, first of all, the United States, and then in your community?
I would say that in my community of Wicomico County, Maryland, I do not expect to be meeting based on what I know of the Maryland public school assessments and the reports they make. I do not expect my general student to be at grade level. And sadly, I expect them to be pretty low, pretty much below, well below grade level, just because of what we have seen Maryland publish about Maryland. Now, there are so many stats to pull from, and we know they get doctored in so many different ways.
Right.
But that's my general thought is right now, Wicomico, no, I don't expect it to be an incredibly high rate. And for the national, I have no idea. The people I know can read. That's kind of where I'd stick it. I would say I've known one, maybe two people in my life who I came to find out were illiterate, and they had done what they needed to do to be able to recognize their name, where they're supposed to sign things, what a date looks like. But literally one or two people, that would be it.
Yeah, I would say it is an absolute oddity to be meeting somebody that it would be considered illiterate. And I think because of the history of education within our country, it may even be, this would be one of those things of our friends across the aisle would say, oh, you can't ever call somebody illiterate. That's offensive. It's a negative term. So what we'll be talking about today is proficiency. You would be below proficiency.
Below
Not
proficiency.
illiterate, just below proficiency.
I am below proficiency when it comes to many things in my life. I am below proficiency when it comes to plumbing. I am below proficiency when it comes to carpentry. I am at proficiency when it comes to golf.
I would like to think I'm above proficiency.
Above proficiency. Yeah, I'd like to think that, but I'm definitely not. So below proficiency. All right. So I guess we'll start with the national. We'll start with the big stuff. What do you have to show me about the national?
Yeah. So on the national side of things, about 4 out of 5 U.S. adults are considered literate, which I found that interesting. Not like 4.5. We're just going down to 4. 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. That means 20% are not.
That's what that would indicate.
That's so literate. And to me, that means not they can't read at all, but they're below
proficiency.
Below proficiency.
That's what
that's
what we're saying.
That's sad.
And then roughly 1/3 of tested students read at or above a proficient benchmark,
which means 2/3 do not read at or above a proficiency level. And again, you asked me how I would respond about, what I know. What I know is the schools that I've been a part of, that is reversed and then some. It would be far less than 1/3 would be below proficiency. I don't want to overstate, but what, 10% maybe?
Yeah. So more consistent statistics than that general statement. Globally, about 86% of people ages 15 and over are literate. Developed countries typically report around 96%.
I wonder if that number, I know that number has improved as the Earth has, as we have moved through the Earth's history.
Right.
We moved through the history of mankind. I know that number has improved. I don't know where we are versus 1950.
So
things like that.
But they're saying typically developed countries should be 96%. In the United States, about 79% of adults are considered literate.
Wow. Same
21%
article.
classified as illiterate.
Same article, same metric, I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. All right. You're
and
blowing
then-
me away, man. Blowing
yeah,
me away.
I'm-
Wouldn't expect this.
Well, around 54% of U.S. adults read below a 6th grade level, with about 20% below a 5th grade.
I would say to this point, reading and common sense, reading and critical thought
Sure.
have a lot to do with each other. And I would tell you that I have very much come to my place in my old age that I am very unwilling to give just anybody, and even people that are supposed to be, the blanket understatement, or the blanket default. I am far less likely to simply assume that you, who I don't know, are a critical thinker than I was. I used to think that far more people deserve that default setting ascribed to them, that they're able to critically assess. I don't believe that anymore. So I think for this stat, maybe this is the first time I'd say, okay, you're kind of getting close to where I think I was, because I would say that critical thinking, which I would completely relate back to reading and their ability to get outside of themselves to some extent, is lacking. Seriously.
And here's my other question. This one in particular that said 54% read at a 6th grade and 20% below a 5th grade. At what grade level are we considering proficient? Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you're not going to be at grade level if you're 25 years old.
Right.
It would be.
So are we considering 8th grade level reading as proficient?
Yeah. Once you hit this grade, we don't expect you to get more proficient necessarily than the average.
Because it seems as though that the below 5th grade is where we're considering people illiterate.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Based on those statistics.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Good thought. Keep going.
All right, let's keep going.
Tell me things
all right.
I don't know.
School age reading benchmarks. So on the 2024 NAEP, the nation's report card, about 31% of 4th graders scored at or above the proficient level in reading, meaning about 69% were below proficiency. So that's 2024 4th graders.
They're going to throw out COVID. They're going to say COVID kids are going to be far more likely to be less proficient.
Yep. About 40% of 4th graders scored below basic, the lowest achievement level on the NAEP, indicating very weak foundational reading skills. So that's 4th grade. At grade 12, national average reading scores in 2024 were lower than both 2019 and 1992, whenever we're spacing these out by the decade.
Well, at least we're not pumping more money into education.
Yeah.
At least we're spending less on education now.
It is.
Well, okay, I need to hear from you, though. Do you have your stats lined up for us?
So
what would be
of course
Matt's stats?
Of course I do. Now, granted, and I'll say this with a caveat, what I'm going to kind of provide for right now, we at Faith Baptist School offer the Iowa Achievement Test.
Sure.
Which is a nationally recognized test. Many, many, many people are taking these tests, but we take it through the American Association of Christian Schools, and we actually give the Iowa assessment every year to our students to make sure that we are keeping up with their trends. It's not a fluke of a year and then they are stuck for 2 years and we didn't realize there's a problem that should have been addressed. But the stats I'm going to provide are just from our testing last year, the 2025 Iowa test results.
Nice.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Now, to determine proficiency, the general rule of thumb is to look at the national STAY-9 score.
Yes, the STAY-9.
The STAY-9. And the scores range from 1 to 9. Your above proficiency would be 7 to 9. Your proficiency would be 4 to 6, and your below proficiency would be 1 to 3. Got it?
Okay, I'm there with you. I follow that, and I remember it from my time doing it myself.
Good. Well, I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence, but I just want to make sure we're being absolutely clear. That's what I am pointing to for these proficiency rates within Faith Baptist School. So we tested last year 134 students. That's from our K-5 to our 11th grade. Our 12th graders took the SAT, not the Iowa testing. So out of 134 students, I had 96% proficiency rate. That are students at or above proficiency.
What a blessing.
Way to go, Faith Baptist.
Way to go. Way to go.
However, I did have 4% that scored below proficiency. So even within our schools, we do have those students. Now, granted, even as I was looking at these scores, you've got the kids that just had a really bad testing day. We know from this one test, it does not accurately necessarily represent where they are 100%, as well as those kids that were above proficiency. They had a really good testing day.
Well, that's why we don't put as much stock into these as some may.
Right.
This is why we want to have them. That doesn't mean we're going to, imbibe them for every last need. We're not going to make them the mainsail of every academic decision we make.
Yeah. So out of that 134 students, that 4%, that would represent 6 students in our school that scored below proficiency. And even within that, I would say there were at least 3 of those that it was noted that they just did not do well when it came to testing. They had high test anxiety. Some other things happened that would cause their scores to not be as high as they may have otherwise been if they had been together. But 96% proficiency, and as if I were to go grade by grade, that is a fairly common statistic. Other than I have several grades that are at 100% proficiency. One of them being 4th grade, which I wanted to point out because as we looked at the national average, we just talked about that statistic of 4th graders. Now that was in 2024, which means they would have been 3rd graders. But 24 4th graders were 69% below proficient. So we flipped that around, and it was 100% proficiency in our 4th grade.
Very nice.
So well done, 4th graders.
Well done.
But
react,
Mark, react.
So none of that surprises me. What surprises me are the first numbers. And it's just, it's hard. We want to celebrate the 96% and the 100%. We want to find the 4% and help them. And I don't really, again, with the whole bubble language, which, by the way, that came up over this weekend, and I won't return to that conversation, but that came up with between me and my wife, and then between me and who we were going to go and visit, and it was in my mind, it was very small, but in my mind, I was like, we just talked about this. No one's listening to me.
Listen
to me now. I like I said earlier, I would guess that 10% was a very conservative estimation for the schools that I was a part of, and obviously here it's even a higher percentage of proficiency, and that doesn't surprise me. And I would be very surprised if we had fellow Christian schools around us who had exceptionally different or state average or national average percentages of those who are proficient, because that's just it's not at all what I expect. It's not at all what I would be thinking would be the case. So I, as far as a reaction, I guess that's about as good as I got. I'm not surprised, and I don't ever want to be surprised in those situations. I want to be able to expect that, no, we are going to, especially as children of the word, especially as people who see the word as a completely vital, that we would, that we would make sure our students are as close to that proficiency level and otherwise as possible. So
and it is also a good reminder for me, because every once in a while you'll get the individuals that want to kind of put down our schools, our private educations, poo-poo, that we're not a real school. We don't know what we're talking about. Here are real numbers. Here's what's actually going on within our school, that we're able to reach these kids. We're helping them more one-on-one time. That is such a big part of who we are. So hopefully you can pull up those numbers for yourself and be encouraged as well.
And I don't want anybody to say, well, you're comparing apples and oranges. No, if we were going to be partaking in many of the state programs that are available to peer institutions in other states or elsewhere, they would say one of the demands of you is that you present your students with testing that would be recognized nationally. That's what you are offering. That's what we've done. And I really, don't want to hear anything else about it, because it's what you did and it's what we can offer, and it is there, and the numbers are there. So the burden, the onus, it's not on you anymore.
Right.
It's on you to keep those numbers high, of course.
Yeah.
All right.
Up the good work.
Good work. Absolutely. I mean, not in a private way, but make sure everybody else hears about it as well.
This episode is brought to you by our partners at the Herzog Foundation, whose mission aligns beautifully with ours to advance and support Christ-centered education. The Herzog Foundation exists to catalyze excellence in Christian schools, helping more children experience academic rigor, biblical truth, and strong moral character, all in a safe and nurturing environment. Whether through teacher training, principal development, or strategic media efforts, the Herzog Foundation is committed to helping you, the Christian school leader, fulfill your calling with excellence. Their vision is bold but clear: a national renaissance in Christian education that impacts culture for generations. At the Christian Principles Podcast, we're proud to stand with Herzog Foundation in that mission. Learn more at herzogfoundation.com. Together, we're building schools and futures on the rock of Christ. And as always, tell them that the fellas here at the Christian Principles Podcast sent you their way.
When you need to reach families fast, GradeLink lets you send text or voice alerts right from your dashboard. It's perfect for weather closures, emergencies, or just last-minute reminders. Want quick, reliable communication? Check it out at cpp.gradelink.com.
So take the opportunity and review where your school stands, and perhaps you've already done this, and you can offer some insight as to the best way of making your school stand out. Or perhaps you're ready to offer some insight to say, hey, not only is that the NAEP's published scores, but those are not the gross scores. Those are the net scores. After you chop off the bottom 10%, those are the scores provided, and we don't do that. Maybe you have another nugget to offer us like that. We'd love to hear it, so get a hold of us. But it's time to move to our Christian Administrator Spotlight. Matt, who are we spotlighting today?
We are spotlighting Mr. Scott Zingerman. Rejoice Christian School in Owasso, Oklahoma, is the elementary principal. Scott Zingerman.
We have been blessed to highlight this Rejoice Christian School 3 times now. And what a wonderful work they are doing. And Matt's going to pray for you now, Scott.
Father, thank you for Scott. Thank you for the work that he's doing leading the elementary within Rejoice Christian. And I pray that you would bless him in his efforts. It seems it's his family's efforts as well as they work together. And that you would just continue to guide and direct as they seek to meet not just proficiency levels, but to open up the possibilities of every student to do amazing things, all for your honor and glory. Just bring them success in many of the things that they're doing, whatever projects they may be working on, that you would just provide in miraculous ways. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for growing with us today.
We want to thank you for listening. We're honored that you spend this time with us each week. Our heart is to bring you practical conversations and resources that really serve you as a Christian school leader. One of the best ways you can help us spread the word is by leaving us a review and sharing the podcast with other Christian school principals you're connected with. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Join the conversation and share any posts that resonate with you. Every share makes a difference in helping more leaders find encouragement and practical tools. And remember, the podcast is just one way we help. We also love serving schools through speaking and workshops. Our keynotes and sessions are designed to give you actionable strategies you can take back to your team and implement right away. If you'd like more details, just send us an email at info@christianprinciplespodcast.com. We'd love to connect. Until next time, thanks for joining us on the Christian Principles Podcast.